These ones are the gear engine and gear remocons, and I grabbed 2 of them each. So I grabbed 2 of the white ones, and I grabbed 2 of the green ones, and the reason why I did that, if I can even find the other green one, and the reason why I did that is because in the X8 and Build film, there's versions of these that are red and blue instead of green and white. So I grabbed an extra of each so I could make the red and blue ones.
Well, didn't see that coming. I guess that video aged not so well. But yeah, Kamen Rider Build's full bottles are back. So today on the channel, I want to talk about the return of Kamen Rider Build's full bottle toy line, which is just really funny timing in my opinion, just because of the fact that I just bought a ton of full bottles, as you saw in that little clip of the video, at Power Morphicon from the Anime Jungle grab bags. So I've got full bottles on the mind. In fact, I actually placed a Mandarake order last night, I think, for some more full bottles with some other stuff, which you'll probably see on the channel somewhat soon. But I was just in a full bottle mood, and I woke up yesterday morning, and lo and behold, it's been announced by Bandai that they are doing not 1, but 2 more brand new Kamen Rider Build stuff. Or I guess not brand new, I mean, toy-wise it's brand new, but it's not new in terms of they didn't just make it up. But these are something that Build fans have been wanting for quite a while, including myself. I didn't know if I was ever going to buy them, and at this point in time, I'm still not 100% sure if I'm going to buy them. It really just does depend on the price and if we're going to get a US release via Team Kamen Rider, although I think we will. It's kind of interesting because they go for pre-order on September 15th in Japan, and right now I'm recording this on the afternoon of September 14th as a siren is blaring outside, and basically these are not going to go for pre-order until tonight-ish, something like that. So at the time of me recording this, I have 1 picture to go off of, and I don't have the price points or release date or anything like that, but that will be at some point in this video. But basically what was tweeted out was from the Kamen Rider toy count, and it showed off 2 brand new Build products that are both related to Build's Visa Nexts and also to the actual show itself. And basically what this is something really, really cool for a number of reasons, because these are items that should have totally been a thing 5 years ago. 5 years already when Build was airing, or I guess technically 4 years ago when the Visa Nexts came out. But it's just one of those weird things that just some, for whatever reason, didn't happen in the toy line. I don't know why, and then just gets forgotten about for years. But Bandai has actually been doing really good about this, and I've been talking about this on some recent episodes of Toku Talks and everything like that. But more recently, what they've been doing is going back to older toy lines and giving you those items that were always missing. Those things that would fill some certain slots in a particular gimmick item or whatever it may be. So we kind of saw this starting last year when we finally got in kind of the anniversary of Forza, kind of celebrating its 10th anniversary. We finally got a release of the deluxe Nadeshiko driver. We also saw it last year with that special Wonder Ride book icon set for the Blades Inspector Visa Next, where it finally gave us a release of Necrom's Yujo Burst icon. And then of course we definitely saw it earlier this year with the announcement of Bane Tank and Mighty Novel X Geshats, finally happening for X8 in celebration of that special. Now what is fascinating about this is that there really isn't any new Build content dropping right now that kind of would bring into that, but like I just mentioned, Forza had the anniversary, and X8 had and Ghost as well, had TTFC specials and everything to tie into that. But it's also not the first time that we've kind of gone back to older gimmicks and given us new ones without there being new content, because earlier this year, we got the 3 Over Quartzer Ride Watch sets, which I took a look at here on the channel back in July or whatever, and those, there was nothing new Geo out or anything, they just finally got around to doing those. So at this point, we've really filled a lot of gaps in gimmick lines, and full bottles were kind of the last couple things that they hadn't really done. And it always kind of bothers me whenever we get a full gimmick line for Kamen Rider, because, or I guess every single year, because sometimes a couple of them fall through the cracks and they just don't release them, and I don't know why they do that, because you'd think that they would whenever they make a prop for a gimmick or something for a movie or for an episode of the show, you would think that the intention is to sell a toy of it, even if it is a premium Bandai exclusive, as it often ends up becoming. But it's just one of those weird things where it's why did you even bother making it if you were never going to sell it as a toy? Because premium Bandai is always the perfect outlet for them, because it's made to order, so I assume that they really don't lose too much money making something premium Bandai unless it just or sells terribly for whatever reason that may happen. But basically, I keep talking about this and haven't said what the items are. So the first one here is the deluxe Killbus Spider, which is so fascinating to me. So if you don't know what this is the main transformation like device and bottle of Kamen Rider Killbus, which was the main antagonist of the first Build Visa Next, which was based off of Kamen Rider Cross. So this is basically, it's essentially a repaint of the spider bottle that came with one of the Pandora panels, whichever one it was. But it's basically a repaint of that bottle. So the bottle should just activate the spider sounds in the build driver. You should be able to best match it with Refrigerator, I would imagine, because it should just be the same. But the new thing, like the actual brand new piece, is the Killbus Spider, which is so fascinating, like I had said, because technically we got like the repaint remold of it, because I mean it's essentially all of the devices that kind of slot into the build driver for different riders, like for Cross or for Blood or for Killbus or for Grease for his Visa Next, all follow a very similar format of it being like a big brick with like two things that fold out and can fold back in. You see that with the Cross Dragons and everything like that. And so technically we kind of got the remold of this thing as the device used by Grease Perfect Kingdom, where it had the like owl and stag like pieces that could fold in. So Killbus Spider kind of was what led to that, but they just never made Killbus Spider because it's just like the arms of the spider. So really cool that we're finally getting that. Like I said, the bottle's not too exciting, but that's perfectly fine. At least you can finally have this. Would finally be done with all of the main rider, or every single build rider's transformation gimmicks would be out with these two releases, and Killbus Spider was the big one. I had always thought that what they should have done, and they're kind of doing it with this, because of the fact we were missing the Killbus Spider, basically they didn't, for whatever reason, release the gimmick items or the transformation device items of the main villains of the Build Visa Nexts. So for the Cross one, it was Killbus, and for the Grease one, it was Metal Build, and that's kind of where the second set comes in. But they went above and beyond on the second set, which I'm really happy with what's in this second set, and I'm definitely more inclined to buy the second set, just for, budgetary reasons. I probably can't afford to get both of them right now, but if I can pick one of them, I'm probably going to get the full bottle one. So this full bottle final set, I think is what they're calling it, is really cool. It just fills a bunch of gaps in the build toy line because you don't have to sell it with a device or anything. Because I always thought that they should have just sold Killbus Spider with Spider, and then also the two tank bottles for Metal Build, so you could just knock it all out in one set. But they split it up, and that's perfectly fine. So what they're doing in the full bottle set is you're going to get the two black tank bottles that are used by Kamen Rider Metal Build, which you do technically need to have a hazard trigger for that, because essentially Metal Build is just the rabbit tank hazard suit with two tank eyes, and it is, which you could technically make already if you just bought two tank bottles. And a lot of people have customized this over the years, where they've painted tank bottles black and changed the sticker, because the sticker should have two T's on it for tank instead of rabbit tank. So it is really cool that we have that finally, two tank bottles. Now also from that film, which I did not remember this, but thanks to people on Twitter for pointing out which one it was, because I honestly don't think I've ever watched the Grease Visa Next, or even the Cross one for that matter. I don't know why, but in that film you have the phantom-like monster things, which eventually kind of become part of Metal Build's like quote-unquote final form. And I guess to transform into those, they had basically a all chromed out version of the blank bottles. So I didn't know what bottle that was. I thought it was just some random prototype thing that was on Sento's desk or something, but that's being included in here. So you're going to get 3 bottles from the secondary Visa Next. The rest are from something else that are not Visa Nexts, and starting with that, we have the Telebi full bottle, which this one's really interesting. And Telebi was always a Telebi-kun pack-in item, so because of that, whenever they released any of those, which I think they did 4 of them like that, there was Momotaros and Super Sentai and Kamen Rider got that kind of release, they were not transparent plastic, they were just all an opaque color, and that always made Telebi kind of stand out, because it was the only bottle that you couldn't get with some kind of translucent piece. It was also the only bottle besides Cake of the main 60 between the 3 different regions that you couldn't get a deluxe format. So that's fixing it here. So this is a proper, nice, full deluxe version of Telebi. I would have liked them to include Kuma, because Kuma was a hard one and still is a hard one to find, because it was a mail-in pack-in, or not pack-in, mail-in away thing in relation to that magazine that came with Telebi and that came with the Hyper Battle DVD, which is what this was used in. But at least you can finally get a deluxe Telebi, which is really nice, because as I mentioned in my video on Monday, the Telebi that I got at Morphicon, I didn't realize till I got home, but the sticker on the cap was upside down. So if I get this set, that one is completely useless to me, and I'll use the more proper deluxe one for my build collection. And then the other 2 bottles here, or the other 4, I suppose, are kind of just 2 different sets of bottles. So the first one are the last 2, like, regular version of the Lost bottles, which this is really cool. And it's something that I don't really know if it was technically seen in Build. It's kind of tricky, but basically there are 10 full bottles referred to as the Lost full bottles, which were kind of introduced early on in the show with Bat and Cobra, but then they added more and more towards the end. And basically they had this whole thing to where they were connected to the white and black Pandora panels and everything. But those were like the brown, purple, silver bottles that you got. And a lot of them were Candy Toy and Gashpon exclusives. Some of them, like CD, were CD pack-ins and stuff like that. But the last 2 of these, which were Scissors and Sparner, were never released in any capacity in the toy line in their like original Lost version, you know, where they would be that brown, purple, silver kind of color scheme. They were only released in the black and gold, which I guess is, I think those were like the purified versions, or maybe those were the unpurified versions. I don't even remember. It's been a while since Build. But the only way you could get Sparner and Scissors was in the premium Bandai white and black Pandora panel set, which came with all 10 of the Lost bottles in a black and gold color scheme. So this was just kind of a weird little hole that we never got finished. And because of this, what you can do now, which never happened in the show because even though these are 2 different color schemes of these same bottles, they never coexisted at the same time. They were either always one or the other color scheme. But now, technically, if you want to, you could put all of the like purple, brown colored ones on like the white panel, and like you could put the black and gold ones on the black panel or something like that. If you bought that original set and you collected everything during Build, now you have these, which is just really cool that they are filling that gap in there. Something that I would not have thought of, but did always kind of irk me in Build's original toy line back in 2017, 2018, and I'm glad that we're getting them. The last 2 here are a little frustrating. I'm happy that they exist, fully am happy that they exist, but it's a little frustrating because this is what I had talked about in my video at the beginning of this video and also on Monday, and that is they're finally releasing the red and blue versions of the Gear Engine and Gear Remicon bottles, which were used by the Kaiser in the Heisei Generation's final film, which was the Build and X8 crossover film. Now, when I went to Morphicon, I had finally got Gear Engine and Gear Remicon, and in fact I got them twice because I was always intending on getting duplicates of them to repaint them into these exact versions, and then Bandai like literally like 24 hours later was like, oh no, but you didn't have to though, because now we're going to finally make them 5 years later. So basically all they have to do is just change the color on the gear part, and then for these 2 in particular, the like cap pieces are also painted that respective color, which was not a thing on Engine and Remicon's regular ones, the Hell Bros, that were in the show, but still really cool that we're finally going to get these. And I think that's pretty much every single full bottle that they could release, unless they like make something up for like a new special or something. Technically, I think the only thing that they still could release, although it wouldn't be able to do anything, is that in like, I think episode 14 or something like that, it's like around that time that Bloodstalk's identity is revealed, there is like a Pandora panel or Pandora box fragment bottle thing that like Sento has, where I think he eventually uses that to make... Did he use that to make Rabbit Tank sparkling? I might be completely wrong on that, but I know that there's like a thicker bottle that has like the essence of the Pandora box in there. And then later on, when Evil takes over him, there's like that entire cube of the Pandora box that like is in the I think Evil Driver or maybe Build Driver for a minute. So like technically they could do those, but I wouldn't expect them to. I don't even know how you would make that work or anything like that. With these, a lot of them are repaints, or they are actually, yeah, they're all repaints, aren't they? Huh. Yeah, the entire set of bottles is repaints. I just realized that now. Like 100%. The only thing that they had to make that was different was making that translucent plastic for Telebi to actually be more of a deluxe bottle. But everything else is just a repaint. So of course they did this. This makes perfect sense. They didn't really have to do much on this except for like change stickers around and basically mold the Killbus spider, which is probably why that's like its own thing. So I'm not sure if there's going to be some kind of way to where you get both of these together. Sometimes they do that where there's like combo sets of stuff like this when it's all premium Bandai at the same time, but it doesn't seem for that to be the case. So at this point in this video, like I said, I'm recording this before the official pre-orders go up, so I don't know the release date or the price. So right here, this is the release date and price of the Killbus Spider, and if it's getting a US release or not. If it is, either way, if it's getting only a Japanese release or if it's getting a US release as well, I'm going to get it off of Tokullectibles, and I'll put the link to those in the description below for whatever release they have. But that's Killbus Spider's information, and then here's the information for the full bottle final set if you're interested in that as well. So also let me know if you guys would like to see videos on these. I definitely want to pick up both of them someday, but I'm either not going to pre-order either of them right now, or I'm only going to pre-order one of them, and if I do, it's going to be the bottle set over the Killbus Spider, just because I like those obscure releases that fill gaps, and I really, really like when they do this kind of thing. Like, I pre-ordered the Bane Tank and Mighty Novel X Gashat set. I pre-ordered that over pre-ordering the one that had, like, the Gemu Muso and Arc 1000 and that kind of stuff. I didn't get that set, even though I should get that. So really quick here at the end of the video, this news dropped while I was in the middle of editing it, but if you never got some of the original deluxe Kamen Rider Build toys, they are being re-released in the Super Best line, which if you aren't familiar with that line, it's basically like kind of a sub-line of Kamen Rider toys that kind of revisits older stuff, older drivers, that kind of thing, and basically just puts them out on the market again. They're usually exactly the same or very, very similar to the original deluxe releases of those items, and for Build, we're getting 3 of them. The first of it being the deluxe Build driver, of course, which is going to come with the Rabbit and Tank full bottles, just as it did back in 2017. They are also releasing the Cross Dragon, which is a very popular item that I never got. It's the only one of these re-release items that I never was able to get back during the Build toy line, so I probably am going to have to pick that one up. Of course, it's going to come with the Dragon full bottle. And then finally, which I do believe that they did package these together during Build, but they're doing it again, and that is a combo set of the Hazard Trigger and the full bottle, which will allow you to, with, you know, in conjunction with the Build driver, allow you to access Rabbit Tank Hazard, as well as Rabbit and Tank. So basically all of Build's main forms and Cross, which I think is a really good idea to re-release it. You know, you get the driver back out there for anybody who's getting the Killbus Spider, and whoever is getting the full bottle final sets, that kind of thing. You know, it gets you the secondary rider, most of Build's forms except for Genius. Unfortunately, no Genius re-release here, but there's that, and I don't know if there's US releases coming of these from Team Kamen Rider or not, but if there is, there's probably Tokullectibles, like screenshots that are popping up on screen, and there will be links in the description below if that is something that is happening. But hey, this is definitely a good time to buy into the Kamen Rider Build Deluxe toy line if you never did 5 years ago. I would love to know your guys' thoughts down in the comments below on what do you think of these 2 brand new Kamen Rider Build stuff. Do these finally fill some gaps in your collection that you've always wanted? Also, let me know what you think of this neon Toku Topic sign that's finally in the background of videos. I got that for Christmas. You can see it in my 2021 Christmas haul for my girlfriend, but I never really had a place or a way to hang it up until now, and I'm hoping it's not getting cut out of the top of the frame. It might be a little bit, depending on how I edit it with headroom and everything. We'll see how that's going, but like I said, love to know your guys' thoughts about everything that I talked about here today down in the comments below, and what other gimmick items that Bandai never released from their original toy lines would you like to see them release, because they're really starting to narrow that list down. In fact, I really can't think of too much for a lot of these shows at this point, which is really good. There's still some miscellaneous random drivers and stuff like that that I think that they can still release from certain shows, but they are getting through that list, and it's really, really nice to see. So until next time, you guys can follow me on Twitter at LiveRangerKey or TheAnyficPR, and I'll see you all next time.